the first appointment for arts, culture and creative economy, what I found that it was virtually, even though other ministers have done very, very well in the past, but I started from ground zero.
Well, outside of Nigeria, we've seen our stars, our music stars, the Burna Boys, the Davidos. They've had their shows outside of Nigeria. I mean, you see a 20,000 capacity venue, but I'm not sure we have that right here in Nigeria. And that is an aspect that we need to look into. We need to tap into when people are coming in, they feel safe, feel comfortable coming into Lagos or any part of the country. And I'm wondering, what are you doing in that regard?
So the first thing on my bucket list when I became the minister of this particular ministry was to deliver
I want us to focus particularly in the tourism sector in Nigeria. As one who sits in that position when you were appointed and down till this point, what did you find out in the ministry?
Well, first of all, I was appointed as in art, culture and creative economy, and I wasn't in charge of tourism. I just inherited tourism some months back. The first appointment for arts, culture and creative economy, what I found that it was virtually, even though other ministers have done very, very well in the past, but I started from ground zero. I went back to ground zero because I felt it was important to put up, the emerging trend of the global community. It was important to put up a new foundation. And even though I leveraged on what was done before, I did look at it from ground zero. The tourism I felt in the past had been abandoned because, Nigeria has a lot of tourism potential, but, the infrastructure is really not there to support that potential. So even with the tourism sector, of course, given the certain other narratives that are coming in place that may affect the tourism negatively, such as, they talk about the insecurity. But that isn't something that should affect the tourism sector because the tourism sector also needs that specific foundation or specific framework to be put in place, the policy, the tourism policy, the infrastructure, so the access, and then the destinations such as Obudu, Yankari, we already have them. But it's just a little bit of funding and a little bit of partnerships and the PPPs that is required to put these things back in place and then to approach the tourism sector through the eyes of the destinations themselves. So you sell Obudu as a tourism sector, as a tourism destination globally. So you just in the same way that Mexico is approaching Cancun and Saudi Arabia is approaching Al Ula. So they're just different approaches that I felt needed to be put in place. But my approach has been really ground zero with both the creative industry and with the tourism sector as well.
So it's interesting that you would say you're starting from ground zero. Yeah. So we have a problem. I don't know if you agree with me, but we have a problem of continuity where you see a situation, the next administration comes into power and they're starting all over. It's as though they do not want to continue with what the other administration has done. But for you, Honorable Minister, what is it that you're putting in place in such a way that when the next person occupies that same position, if the person wouldn't have to go through what you've gone through or start from ground zero?
Yeah, you're 100% right. The problem of Nigeria is one continuity. But there's no point in continuing something that you feel does not have a strong foundation. That's like building a house and coming to have a house that possibly does not have the strongest foundation and then coming to say you want to continue it and just doing painting on top. You need to make sure that the ground is solid.
Yeah.
So when I say starting from ground zero, I'm looking at everything that has been done before and interrogating the foundation of it. If it's a strong foundation, we continue with that. If it is not a strong that foundation, we start from the beginning. The president has been very committed, and he's been very clear that in terms of long-term sustainability, he wants us to make sure that every initiative that we're putting in place, we are inculcating with the private sector, because that's the only way you can do long-term sustainability. And because we don't have the strongest maintenance culture in Nigeria, there's no point in continuing something that has not been maintained properly. So when you bring in the private sector, it brings in the ability of the private sector, because now the private sector has a stake. So the private sector, with support of government, has now the ability to continue something, because that is part of their own, that's part of their own business structure, right? So everything that we do now has to be done with the private sector. Government is really there to offer the foundation, to bring the enabling environment, to offer the policy, to offer the framework that is required. But it is the private sector that will continue to build. So once you come and go as government, the next government inherits something that the private sector is working on. And actively, all the initiatives that we're doing, we're socializing into the ministry. But socializing something that has been done with the private sector. So you have a proper foundation, a proper root, so to speak. So everything that has been done before that has been done properly, like the National Theatre that we inherited. The private sector came in, the Committee of Bankers. Of course, you continue with that because that is already in place. The former government or the former governments have put in a great structure. The private sector has come in. You continue with that. But other things such as many of our museums that have not been, we have 55 museums, of which only 4 or 5 are really functional. So you need to start putting a proper functional structure in place. So we concentrate on 4 or on 5 of those and try to make them at an international standard. The DG NCMM has done a fantastic job at working to digitize them. So, there's a lot of things that we inherited that we will continue if they are fit for purpose. There are a lot of things that we inherited that there's a need to start from the beginning. And my hope is once you do something and put a base with the data mapping that we have, some of the investments that are coming through, and some of the private partnerships that we're having, I think we put up a structure that any government that comes after us will be able to look at and to continue to build. And that's the one thing that we're doing. We're looking to put up something that needs to be built on, not something that is just for our own 4 years or whatever, how many ever years we're there. We're looking beyond us. So it's really about building that structure, and hopefully someone will continue to finish. Somebody will not finish it, will continue it. And hopefully it's something that will continue to be done in perpetuity.
Honorable Minister, we're right here in Lagos, Nigeria. A couple of months ago, I was in, Ogun for the Ojude Oba.
Yeah.
And also in December, we had the Dirty December, where we had people, influx of people into Lagos. The global economy is not waiting for anyone. And so it's very important that we diversify, have this across several states. As the Minister of Tourism, what exactly are you doing to ensure that, yes, we have Dirty December in Lagos, but there are other states. There's the North, there is the East. What are we doing to ensure that those places are, attracted to tourists in such a way that they can come in and buy our things, appreciate our culture?
Yeah. So exactly, we're very proud of Dirty December. We're very proud of Ojude Oba. In fact, we're working to see how we can enhance that. Because even though it was a great success last year, it was sort of an organic success, right? It was a shock to people how big it was. It was big, and then it kind of multiplied. And with some intentionality of government, I think it can be even bigger. Now you see the federal government is building a world-class airport in Lagos that will be able to accommodate the visitors coming in for the future Dirty Decembers. But one of the things that Mr. President wanted us to do was to diversify. When he spoke about diversifying away from oil and making the creative economy a great success and a great growth economically for us, is also the diversification of some of this. Nigeria has so much to offer.
Yeah.
So what the ministry is doing something called Niger Season. Together with with Obi Asika, the National Council of Arts and Culture, is to do a Niger Season so that every part of the year there's something happening. all over, whether it's the Durbar or the Calabar Festival or something in the East. There's just so much to offer. So if we as a country are able to formalize that, then that offers the world, content and activities for people to come into Nigeria to experience different parts of Nigeria. So Niger Season, together with Dirty December and together with some other programming that we're doing in the southeast, in the south part of Nigeria, has been taken to the Federal Executive Council, whereby it will be the presidential initiative. And a lot of some of these initiatives that we're doing, we're also making a presidential initiative. So when you make it a presidential initiative, it's something that has the ability to sort of outlast governments, so that new governments come and it is something whereby we don't have to start from ground zero. And when you make it a presidential initiative, you bring in other interdependencies, maybe the Ministry of Interior, maybe the Ministry of Aviation, Ministry of Works, so that you have access, you have the roads, you have the Ministry of Power, you have the power necessary to support part of the infrastructure to support some of those activities. So the government is being very intentional in ensuring we deliver that Niger Season. So it's not only about, the Lagos, it's about Nigeria and across Nigeria and every different thing that other parts of it, the Argungu Fishing Festival, the different things that Nigeria has to offer, all from January down to December.
So I know that recently we have the arena, the 4,000 capacity arena. But outside of Nigeria, we've seen our stars, our music stars, the Burna Boys, the Davidos. They've had their shows outside of Nigeria. I mean, you see a 20,000 capacity venue, but I'm not sure we have that right here in Nigeria. And that is an aspect that we need to look into. We need to tap into when people are coming in, they feel safe, feel comfortable coming into Lagos or any part of the country. And I'm wondering, what are you doing in that regard?
So the first thing on my bucket list when I became the minister of this particular ministry was to deliver an arena. And it is something that we've been working actively on with the relevant private sector partner that has already is already burst in this area from day one. Yes, we're working on the arena in Abuja, but the one in Lagos is coming. I promise you. If I don't deliver anything as a minister, that arena is the one thing I must. And Mr. President, every time I see the president, he asks me, Hannatu, what about the arena? The arena will be delivered. It is, for me, a crying shame that as a Nigerian, you have to go outside Nigeria to watch a Nigerian perform Afrobeats in an arena. It is unacceptable. And I tell you, we are working that is the one thing on my bucket list. That is the one thing I must deliver. If I don't do anything as a minister, that arena for the beautiful creatives, for these wonderful Nigerian musicians that have continued to promote Nigeria on the international stage, we must deliver that arena to them here in the heart of Lagos. That 20,000 seater arena that you spoke about will and must be delivered by the end of this administration.
Under your tenure?
It must be delivered by the end of this administration. Whether under my tenure or not, that is for God to decide. But in this administration, that is the commitment and the vision and the mission of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to deliver that arena. Every time he sees me, he says, Hannatu, what about the arena? So I must deliver about arenas.
I want to go personal a bit, Honorable Minister. The shoes you're wearing is really heavy and a very big one. How have you been able to sustain and navigate it? How have you been able to hold it together? And where you do not feel like, doing something, what keeps you going?
It's because of just the energy of Nigerians. It's because of the wonderful successes of Nigerians. It's just because I love this country to my very core. That is it. People see me and they say, oh, you're a Hausa woman. Yes, I am. My body, and I often say this, my body is of Arewa.
Mm-hmm.
My head is of Southwest. My heart is of the Southeast, but my soul is of Nigeria. it is about Nigeria is that it's about given the opportunity to contribute my quota. When I see young people all over this country trying and doing their best to deliver, when I see young people in this country crying because they're looking for something better, when I see young people immersing themselves in the vices that they're not supposed to because they feel as if they don't have something better to do, I feel the weight, because this is the one industry that can solve all these problems. The creative industry is the one that can absorb the successes and support of the beautiful people that have succeeded, the aspirations of the young people that are looking for something better. It is within this industry. That is the only thing. Is it because I'm a Nigerian and I'm proud to be a Nigerian, and I have been given an opportunity, a very unique opportunity to contribute that quota and help Nigerians. And that is what I must continue to do. So I'm blessed to be here. And
What are you most proud of as the Commissioner for Culture, Arts, Tourism and Creative Economy? What are you most proud of?
honestly, again, I'm just proud to be a Nigerian, because everywhere I go, this is the most special ministry, because this is the one that makes you proud of your identity. And what is that identity? That identity is Nigeria. When I go to the east, I see parts of myself. When I go to the south side, I see parts of myself. Middle belt, I see parts of myself. The north, I see parts of myself. The southward, I see parts of myself. When I go out of Nigeria, I see Nigerians that continue to be proud to be. Listen, I'm proud to be of this country. And my greatest delight is to have been born as a Nigerian. And this is what I must do to see. I'm just proud to be a Nigerian, whether it's a music song or whether it's just the diversity in and of itself that has a unique peculiarity to deliver in 240 different ways with these different ethnicities. Just makes you proud. And, that is who I am. That is who you are. Yeah. And this is what we must work together in this industry to continue to make us proud and united as a people.
Honorable Minister, in the month of September, we have the World Tourism Day.
Yeah.
And for 2025, it is that tourism and sustainable transformation. I'm wondering what that says to you.
Yeah, it says to me that tourism, again, is another way that we can achieve all the gains that we're looking at as a people. Recently, I went to a wonderful place in Ekiti State, Ikogosi. And, what I saw there, Ikogosi has created a full ecosystem. And it has employed many young Nigerians. And in every part of Nigeria, there are tourist hubs, right? And when you build these tourist hubs, you employ people. When you employ them, these people take ownership of that specific destination. When they take ownership of that destination, they will protect it with their lives. So, tourism, again, apart from the economic growth it can bring, tourism can bring security. Tourism can bring so much job creation. Every single thing that we talk about, every single variable, every single metric that we talk about making this country better, exists within tourism. So once you support tourism, domestic tourism especially, you find that different communities will thrive, will make themselves better. When they make themselves better, it becomes attractive domestically and internationally.
Honorable Minister, just as we wrap up this conversation today, what would you want to say to Nigerians who would watch this video?
I want Nigerians to be proud of who they are. This is a wonderful, beautiful country of diverse 200 plus different ethnicities and traditions, These ethnicities and traditions form part of who we are as a people, is part of our history, is part of our future. We must embrace who we are as a people. There's nothing bad about being Nigerian. Everything brilliant and good about that's coming out of the world in terms of expression, economically or rather domestically, internally and internationally, honestly, is Nigeria. We have everything that we need to thrive. But what we need to do is to believe in ourselves and to understand that we can be united. And it is within the industry of the creative, the cultural, and the tourism industry. Because when you talk about tourism as well, is when you go to a tourism place, you understand people better and you feel their energy. So please feel proud to be a Nigerian, and we will do everything that we can. The president will do everything that he can. I will do everything that I can to ensure that I give all the support that is necessary to build on the creative, cultural, the arts, and the tourism industry.
Thank you, Honorable Commissioner. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.